Hypixel Skyblock has had a lot of additions and changes over the years, but recently I've been thinking about some of the things that have been forgotten. Some of the items, additions, updates that generally didn't really go anywhere. Today we'll be exploring some of Hypixel Skyblock's forgotten updates. Starting off with the first thing I wanted to talk about today, it's actually furniture items, and we can see quite a few of them here in the village. And I'm not really going to go over some of the things like the weapon rack or the armor stand because those are not really forgotten and I've seen some people use them. I'm talking about the enchanting table plus, crafting table plus, furnace plus, wood chest plus, and also the chest storage over here. And I've actually spent the coins on buying every single one of them, so we're going to head over to the island and take a look. Before we continue, I just want to say, please make sure to like and subscribe down below as it really helps out the channel a lot. And use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. It really is the best way to support the channel. It's helped me out so much after the last few months, and I really do appreciate it. So without any further ado, let's get back to the video. So here we are with all of our furniture laid out, and as you can see, it's just an enchantment table, a crafting table which honestly doesn't even work, a regular furnace, and a couple storage chests here, which I guess are actually somewhat useful. I do think it's interesting that the wood chest plus and the chest storage are basically the exact same, except one is a lot smaller than the other. Also, the furnace being furnace plus while just being a normal furnace is just absolutely hilarious to me. Also, I don't know if I'm going crazy or maybe I had it in a wrong spot, but the crafting table plus just doesn't work. I'm trying to click it and it's just not operational. So I need to get that game breaker immediately for finding this bug. For this next one, we actually have negative potion effects. As you can see here, I have a slowness 5 potion. Now, the reason that this is on the list is because why would anyone ever want to make or use these? You get them through fermented spider eyes and taking a positive potion effect. So if I put like a bunch of speed potions in here, for example, let me go right like here. Throw a fermented spider eye, it'll make these slowness potions. And I'm gonna drink one, but like, why would I ever do that? Obviously, there are some negative potion effects which are used on the player from like mobs or something like that, but there's no reason that these should be craftable or given to the player in any way, shape, or form. I imagine maybe when they wanted to do like PvP in the Coliseum, it would make a little bit of sense if you could like splash somebody with a damage potion. I also think it's interesting that you could theoretically make this into a splash potion and maybe affect a mob with it, but that's just such a niche little use case that I can't really imagine anybody being interested in. Honestly, this is something that a lot of players may actually be aware of, but I do think it's interesting. If you head over to this NPC, you can see the handy block guide, and if you type in chat HBG, you can also access this. And this basically shows you all the ores and the mineable blocks in the game, giving you a ton of specific information about how they operate, as well as their breaking power and their block strength. This is a great way to actually see, if you have a drill, for example, that's strong enough to break a certain gemstone. For a while, I didn't realize this was in the game. I think this was added right around the time of the glaciite tunnels, although I could be wrong. It could have been around way before then, and I just didn't know. This is another feature that you've probably seen a bunch or just passed by every day but never actually utilized because, let's be real, why would you? You take a spray can, you can head over here to the canvas room. I think you have to be either MVP or VIP to use this, but basically it allows you to just draw on this big canvas board and like, why would you ever want to do this? Like, what's the purpose of like, I don't know, being able to paint here? Obviously, there's like the niche aspect of, maybe you want to draw some cool art, show off your talents, whatever. But like, why is this in Skyblock of all things? Like, why isn't this just a separate minigame on the server? Like, why is it here specifically? It was added right around the time that they were experimenting with some more additions for like VIPs and MVPs. Same update that I think added carpentry as well as rune crafting. Just weird to see it in the game in this way at all. I guess you can make some cool designs here if you want. Send me some cool designs that you've made if you have made some. But regardless, just a forgotten feature that hasn't really gotten much use. Another smaller feature I wanted to talk about was actually the separated dungeon access point in the hub, and as you can see, we're underneath the crypts. It's not too hard to get here, just go to the coordinates you can see on the top left, and here it is. This is just a completely separated dungeon access point. As I said, you're able to do pretty much anything you would normally do in the dungeon hub here, and I imagine this is from a point early on in development where they didn't know if they were going to have a separate dungeon hub, and they were like, maybe we should just make it be in the hub, which would make sense. I do think it's unique, though, that you can find the NPCs here, and everything still works, although obviously nobody who actually does dungeons uses this point for pretty much anything. Tucked away in the Thaumaturgist building, we can see Ozan here, and if you click on her, you'll actually be able to see that the blacksmith used to be able to reforge accessories, and she'll actually buy the reforges from you and refund you a certain amount of money. And I think this is a pretty interesting forgotten feature because it's been years since this system was reworked, and new players may have never noticed this NPC who's just in the corner of the building. But yeah, you used to be able to reforge pretty much every single accessory in the game. Everyone just used the same one, and as you can see, you would get a certain amount of money back. So Shaded would give you 1,000,000 coins per item, which was a lot of money. If you have any old, reforges on accessories, you could theoretically put them, in here, and then you could sell and get some money back, but I imagine they're worth more as collector's items with those old reforges on them. Just a small thing that I found pretty unique and interesting, and you can find this NPC here in the back of the Thaumaturgist area. So for this next one, we have random Slayer quests, and yes, I do mean that. This is a feature that I think was fully removed from the game not too long ago, but the TLDR here is that there was a button here that you could click, and you would get a random tier 3 or tier 4 Slayer quest at a reduced or increased cost. I don't know if it was reduced or increased, but you would get more than usual XP. So normally you'd get 500 XP from a tier 4. I think with this system you got 600. But the idea was stupid because why would you want to be able to randomly do quests every single time, because you'd constantly have to swap around your setups, and it would be a pain in the butt. They got rid of that system, clearly. It didn't really work out. But I do think something like it in the future would be interesting. Obviously, we're going to see a Slayer update this year, so I'm pretty excited to see what the admins come out with for that. Something that I feel like got a little bit of buzz when the Mountaintop released, but not much since then, is actually the Wizard's dialogue related to the Breach. And I think there's more dialogue now than there was when the update first dropped, although I could just be completely and totally insane. It is kind of interesting seeing a lot of this dialogue about Cayman and the Witherlords and the time of the Witherlords. It really does seem like that's going to be a major release of content sometime this year, apparently. Although, let's be honest, with the way the foraging update is looking, we're not likely to receive this stuff until 2027 at the earliest. Definitely some cool dialogue here. I highly recommend you go up to the wizard and you see what he has to say. The lore of Skyblock is not really touched on super often, but it is cool to see them try to include it a little bit more. And I feel like this is something that a lot of players have just forgotten about. And I feel like that's kind of been the case with a lot of the things on this list. Just features or updates or things that were talked about or gone over and that just haven't received much use, whether that be because, the game is just so large and you forget a few things, or just because there isn't a reason to use some of those additions. So regardless, I hope you really enjoyed this video. It was definitely fun to find some of these little things and put them together. I hope I at least showed you something new. And yeah, at the end of the day though, my name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.